As financial systems move toward real-time settlement, something counterintuitive happens. Higher prices can make payments cheaper, faster, and more reliable. That sounds backwards, but inside institutional settlement systems, it's exactly how efficiency is engineered. When most people think about price, they think about charts, speculation, and emotion. Price goes up, price goes down, and the story ends there. But inside real-world financial infrastructure, price plays a very different role. Here's the contrast that creates confusion. In retail markets, price feels like the outcome. In institutional settlement systems, price behaves more like an input, a variable that affects friction, risk, and reliability. That gap between perception and reality is why so many conversations about XRP feel disconnected from how finance actually works. As global payment systems shift away from batch processing and toward real-time settlement, the rules quietly change. Systems stop caring about opinions and start caring about execution. Can value move instantly? Can it move predictably? Can it settle without failure? That's where liquidity compression enters the picture. And understanding it changes how price should be interpreted inside modern settlement architecture. Everything here is for educational and entertainment purposes only, not financial advice. Always do your own research before making any investment decisions. If clear, no hype crypto education helps you make sense of all this. Hit like and subscribe. It tells YouTube this series is worth showing to other newcomers, and it helps me keep building it for you. At the heart of this story is a simple shift. Traditional payment systems tolerate delay. Real-time systems do not. In legacy finance, friction hides inside time. Payments settle later. Liquidity sits idle. Risk is netted away in batches. But when settlement happens instantly, every weakness becomes visible. If liquidity isn't there at the exact moment it's needed, the system fails. Institutions don't adopt real-time rails because they're exciting. They adopt them because they reduce operational risk. But that benefit comes with a cost. The system demands certainty, and certainty requires liquidity. This is why real-time settlement doesn't reduce the importance of inventory. It increases it. Assets must be available, accessible, and liquid at all times. And that reality reshapes how price functions inside the system. In institutional finance, inventory isn't speculation, it's insurance. Banks, payment providers, and treasury systems hold inventory because settlement engines require it. Liquidity buffers exist to prevent delays, failed routes, and cascading risk. The more critical the payment, the less tolerance there is for uncertainty. This is the part many people miss. Institutions don't ask whether they want to hold an asset. They ask how much they need to hold to keep the system running smoothly. As volumes rise and settlement windows shrink, the cost of inventory becomes a design problem. Holding too little introduces risk. Holding too much ties up capital. The entire system is built to balance those two forces. Liquidity compression changes that balance. Liquidity compression is not a buzzword. It's a structural effect. When an asset's liquidity deepens and its unit price increases, fewer units are required to support the same dollar value of settlement. That reduces the physical footprint of inventory inside the system. This isn't about excitement or optimism. It's about math and mechanics. Smaller inventories are easier to manage. They're easier to move. They're easier to hedge. And they reduce the operational burden on treasury systems. Compression doesn't eliminate the need for liquidity. It makes liquidity more efficient. That efficiency shows up everywhere institutions care, in capital allocation, in risk management, and in the reliability of execution across payment corridors. To make this concrete, think in simple unit terms. If a corridor needs to settle $1 million and XRP is priced at $10, the system needs 100,000 XRP units available. If XRP is priced at $100, the same corridor requires 10,000 units. Nothing about the settlement process changes, only the size of the inventory footprint. Friction doesn't announce itself. It hides in spreads, slippage, and failed routes. When liquidity is thin, spreads widen. Market makers demand compensation for risk. Slippage increases as orders move the market. Routing engines struggle to find clean paths across fragmented pools. As liquidity deepens, those frictions compress. Tighter spreads emerge. Slippage falls. Routing becomes more predictable. Settlement systems stop fighting the market and start flowing through it. This is where higher unit prices quietly matter. With deeper liquidity at higher prices, systems can move the same value with fewer disruptions. That improves reliability without increasing exposure. From the outside, it looks like price appreciation. From the inside, it looks like reduced friction, the thing institutions value most. There's a common assumption that higher prices mean higher risk. In speculative markets, that's often true. In settlement systems, the opposite can happen. Risk isn't just volatility. Risk is failure. Risk is delay. Risk is not knowing whether a payment will complete when it matters most. As liquidity compresses, inventory buffers shrink relative to value moved. Treasury systems gain flexibility. Routing engines gain confidence. The system becomes easier to operate, not harder. This doesn't mean price solves everything. Liquidity must be real. Markets must be deep. Infrastructure must be mature. But when those conditions align, higher prices can actually stabilize the system rather than destabilize it. That's a hard idea to accept if you're only looking at charts. It makes perfect sense if you're designing settlement architecture. Within Ripple's institutional stack, XRP functions as a liquidity component inside a much larger system. It sits alongside Ripple's regulated stablecoin, custody infrastructure, treasury tools, and routing engines. The goal isn't exposure. The goal is execution. As liquidity deepens across these layers, compression begins to matter. XRP becomes easier to source, easier to route, easier to inventory at scale. This is not a promise, it's a design outcome. If settlement volumes grow and liquidity matures, the system naturally rewards efficiency. And efficient systems tend to consolidate around assets that minimize friction. That's the role XRP is being positioned to play. This is where many conversations jump too far ahead. Liquidity compression doesn't predict price. It explains why certain prices become functional inside large-scale systems. It provides the framework without making the claim. Understanding this distinction matters. Without it, valuation debates feel emotional. With it, they become architectural. When you hear numbers discussed, the real question isn't whether they're exciting. It's whether the system would require them to operate efficiently at scale. That's a very different lens. And it's the lens institutions actually use. The paradox we started with is clearer now. Price was never the objective. Reliability was, efficiency was. And in real-time settlement systems, higher prices are often just the mechanism that makes those outcomes operational. Liquidity compression isn't optimism playing out on a chart. It's infrastructure maturing under real usage. It's what happens when settlement stops being theoretical and starts being dependable. As global finance moves toward real-time rails, these mechanics will matter far more than any narrative wrapped around them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next deep dive. This channel is for educational and entertainment purposes only, and is not financial advice. Always do your own research and keep the discussion respectful. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, subscribing, leaving a comment, or sharing it with a friend.